I think there's different types of content that you can create. Sometimes there's content like regular blog content or just topics that come to mind that you might feel that resonate with you. But then when it comes to content that you're strategically using to help guide your audience towards taking action, that's when you want to have conversions in mind, and you want to write something that you know is going to resonate and that you know is going to pique somebody's interest to take that next step. That step might be to click a button on your website. It might be to schedule a consultation with you. It might be to book your service. So when you have that in mind, that's the type of content that you're writing that needs to be like results oriented. And when you're results oriented, you're thinking, how can I persuade somebody? How can I convince someone that this is what they need?
You're listening to the Black to Business podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. When you're writing any type of content in your business, you want to make sure that it resonates with your audience. I'm sure you know that when your audience is clear on what your business is about and how it can serve them, they feel that they know you, then they like you, and this leads to them trusting you. All of these roads lead to conversions and sales. So my question for you is, how can you know what your audience wants if you haven't asked them? Are you assuming? Assuming can look like you've spent hours creating content for your social media accounts, only to get a few likes and hardly any engagement. It can also look like you spent days creating the perfect website, or even worse, paying hundreds or even thousands of dollars for someone else to do it. And people are either not staying on your site long or not converting into sales. Or what about you've created this sales page for your latest offer and it's not leading to sales? Bummer. Well, the bad news is it's likely your copy. And the good news is today we're going to show you exactly how you can fix it. Joining me today on the podcast is copywriter and sales funnel strategist Kristen Noelle to discuss how you can create content that connects and converts. We're diving into why using market research is crucial for creating compelling content in your business and how to build trust with your audience in your content creation process to increase your sales. So let's dive in. Before we get into today's episode, I want to announce that we've reopened the applications for our directory, The Connect. We're looking for businesses that provide professional services that will be beneficial to our target audience of entrepreneurs who are in their startup journey. So if that sounds like your business, you may now submit your business to be listed by visiting blacktobusiness.com/theconnect. Applications are open every 4 months, and we're now accepting applications for businesses for 2022. So to give you a little more information about the directory and how you can apply, the reason we created the Connect is to provide business owners with the resources needed to grow their businesses. And being that Black to Business is a platform that assists aspiring Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses, we are often asked for recommendations for industry experts who can assist these entrepreneurs with their business needs. So we wanted to create a solution. We want to include businesses who are doing the work. And if that sounds like you, we want to help promote your business to assist you in increasing your exposure, but also letting people know about the work that you're doing to continue to push forward Black-owned businesses. So head over to blacktobusiness.com/theconnect to apply. Now let's get into the episode. So Kristen, welcome to the Black to Business podcast. Thank you so much for being on the show. And I am really excited about today's topic. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Monique. I really appreciate you all having me.
Of course. So I'd like to start off with getting to know a little bit about you for those who are new to who you are. If you could just tell me a little bit about who you are, what is it that you do in your business, and how did you get where you are today?
Yeah, so I am Kristen Noelle, and I like to say I started off working in the government. That was like my first job out of college right here in the DC area. And they always, when you're from the DMV, they always tell you, get a good government job, you can retire, you have all these benefits, and more power to them because, it's a great path. But for me, it was just really soul sucking and draining. And I knew that I couldn't spend my entire career there. So no matter what, it was just like I went to work every day and I was screaming inside. I was looking for other creative outlets. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something different than like coming into that gray office every day. And so I started discovering like blogs, and I was reading travel blogs, and I discovered this whole online world. And I was just like, I want to travel. I want to start an online business. And so then I ended up landing a travel job I worked for a travel company, like a luxury cruise line in Los Angeles. So I moved to LA. That started opening up my world a little bit, but it was still an office-based job, and I still felt stifled, and I still felt like that lack of passion. So I dove more and more into podcasts, actually different podcasts about business and about traveling. And I was just like, oh, I can be a digital nomad. So I decided to move to Thailand. And at this point, I had started an online shop with my mom, and we sold jewelry. We used to make our own waist beads, and I set up the whole website and stuff. So that really helped me get a peek into what it would be like to own an online business. So when I moved to Thailand, I still helped with the website and updating products while my mom stayed back in the States and she was making the products. So I learned more about product photography and social media and SEO and emailing. And the more and more I did it for my own business, the more other people would ask for help with theirs. So I started my own kind of little DIY digital marketing. And it just grew from there. And then I started finding other jobs in digital marketing. So I would work at different places and do different digital marketing and getting my feet wet and just all types of things like across the spectrum. So it's been about 8 to 10 years in total, like since I started doing digital marketing and web, everything related to the web. And now I feel like I found my niche. I have worked in so many different industries as a project manager and as a digital marketing manager. And now I'm like, this is what I want to do. I know what I want to do. So I relaunched like my freelance business. And now I focus on copywriting. I focus on copywriting as well as systems and sales strategies for service providers, specifically wellness service providers. So I'm really into personal growth and personal development and also health and wellness. So my passion is to help people elevate their businesses and impact people positively through results winning, magnetic copy and strategies that actually work. So that's like my story in a nutshell. And right now I'm finding a real passion and fulfillment in the work that I do. So I want to just grow my business by helping other people grow their business.
Thank you so much for sharing that part of your story. I think it's important for people to, hear the journey and how we get where we are, because sometimes it's, like you said, non-traditional way of getting there.
Right.
So we're glad to have you here, and you want to create impact for business owners. And I think you're perfect to talk about the topic we're talking about today, which is creating the content and using market research to create content that connects and converts. So I first want to start with discussing market research and content creation. Now, if you could break down what is market research, and specifically when it comes to creating content.
Sure. Yeah. So I think market research is somewhat overlooked by a lot of people. And I think we're quick to offer services and create content. And sometimes we find out that it falls flat. And I think that's because we haven't done enough market research, or we launch a service and no one's really buying it. And the important piece is missing, which is doing that ground level foundational work of surveying your market and really figuring out who you are best aligned to serve and what exactly they need. Because sometimes your service might be a really great and valuable and useful service, or your content might be really great content. but it doesn't hit the mark with your specific audience because you haven't figured out what they need. And sometimes you need to figure out, well, who does need the service that you actually provide? And that can be discovered by doing more market research. So really what that is the process of figuring out your market, what challenges and things that they're going through, and aligning that with your level of expertise or your area of expertise rather, and providing content that like fills a gap, right? But you don't always know what that gap is until you figure out what it is that people are looking for, what questions people have, what is it that you can help them provide that you know that they really need because they've been speaking to you and they've been telling you and they've been asking you these questions. So it's really that process of getting really up close and familiar with your specific market as opposed to someone else's market, you know, because your niche is going to be a little bit different than somebody else's.
I love that. And I think that is key in creating a great foundation. And when you say that, it makes me think about the steps that people oftentimes want to skip. Mm-hmm. So, because when I think about market research, I'm thinking this takes time. I just want to get the idea out there. I just want to get the content out there.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, and I assume some business owners are thinking about that and some know the importance of doing so. So what are some ways that you think that people can go about doing that market research? Like, what does it look like? Are they looking online? Are they calling people on the phone? Are they in people's faces?
There are so many different ways. My favorite way is to get on the phone and have one-on-one conversations, especially if I'm getting ready to like roll out a new content series or propose a new course or a new service. I always want to make sure that I have the right people that I am marketing to and I'm marketing the right things to. And the best way for me to do that is phone calls. I love to just get on a call, hop on a Google Hangout or directly on the phone and just ask questions. So another way to do market research, of course, is to send out surveys, to do polls on your social media. Like I love to pop a quick question into my Instagram stories. And that's cool to get some basic level feedback. But if you're looking for really deep feedback and phrases and really picking up phrases that people use and specific words, the phone call, just like that one-on-one conversation with somebody where you can go a little bit deeper and uncover like the things that are holding people back, how they describe their situation, how they describe their goals, how they word their questions. Like there's nothing better than a really juicy conversation with your ideal client.
Yes, I agree, because I also feel like people, we build things. And when I say we, I'm saying people, I've done it too. We think we know what people need. And I think that this is a part about, doing it in the beginning, saving time and money later.
Exactly.
So what do you think the impact that market research has on for when it comes to branding and just like for a business?
I mean, the impact is limitless. Like I think the businesses that perform the best and they have the best like organic results, they've done the market research. So they've sat down with their ideal client. They know like they're niching down towards a specific niche. And they're tapping into what these people find attractive, what these people find appealing, because what one group of people finds appealing is going to be different from another group. So it impacts everything from like brand design to the words that you use, the copy, in your email newsletters and your sales pages. So I think those brands that really hit the mark have done that research to know like what their audience would find appealing. And they know, like, when they want to put something out, they know that their audience is going to love it because they've studied, they've had the conversations. So the impact of your business, like, it can really grow significantly. I think once you've done the market research and once you can back it up, you can back up with data and facts and numbers.
Love it. And one of the things you mentioned is like copyright or in your copy. So I know that you are a copywriter and sales strategist. So I want to talk about the impact of this in creating content that converts into sales and connects with your audience. So what is that? What does that mean to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think there's different types of content that you can create. Sometimes there's content like regular blog content or just topics that come to mind that you might feel that resonate with you. But then when it comes to content that you're strategically using to help guide your audience towards taking action, that's when you want to have conversions in mind, and you want to write something that you know is going to resonate and that you know is going to pique somebody's interest to take that next step. That step might be to click a button on your website. It might be to schedule a consultation with you. It might be to book your service. So when you have that in mind, that's the type of content that you're writing that needs to be like results oriented. And when you're results oriented, you're thinking, how can I persuade somebody? How can I convince someone that this is what they need? And in order to know what they need, that's where the market research comes in. So you're then able to take the words that they use, take the phrases that they use and how they describe their situation. And you can use that in your blog posts and in your website and in your sales pages. And that's the type of content that's more directed to conversions, rather than just like little tips and tricks and tidbits, which that type of content is necessary too. But when you're talking about conversions, especially like for products and services that are higher priced, you have to go a little bit deeper into that type of, the mindset content. And in order to get into like that level of mindset shifting and conversions, that's where the market research comes into play.
I love that. And Kristen, when you said that, what it made me think about also is, I was just speaking with someone about creating the brand voice, the brand of your voice. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something we don't talk about enough. And I know you as a copywriter, if you could just touch on what that is and like how important that is, like having a brand voice and knowing what that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's think about a brand that just kind of screams out to us and that we can recognize it almost anywhere. You think of brands like Apple and Nike, the way they do their commercials, all their branding, and they have an essence, they have an aura, that's what I think the level that we all try to strive for as entrepreneurs. We want to grow a business so that when anybody sees a commercial, a logo, a video, they automatically think of us. So that's how I like to think of a brand voice. And there's different ways to express it. You can express it through your written word. You can express it through your creative content, your visuals. And you can express it through like your packaging or your website design. So when I think of brand voice, it's not just like how the brand speaks, but it's the overall essence and the attitude they give off. And then the copywriting is just one branch of a brand voice. It's just like, what are the phrases that you use? What's the tone that your brand tends to give off? Is it more friendly and jovial? Do they use humor? Or are you more of like a straight shooter? They're just going to give the facts, So these are the type of things that you have to think about. It's just like the mood and the essence that you want your brand to give off so that it's more recognizable to people.
I love that. And I think about like Black to Business brand voice. One of the things I was careful about is like, I kind of like that relatable content. Like, how are you doing? I don't like that. I'm like, okay, how are y'all doing, family? Like, what's going on? Like, that's how I speak. So I think it's more relatable to people and they don't shy away from, because especially when you talk about business, it's always thinking about a certain tone. So I love that you said that is, what type of words are you using?
Yeah. And I like that example you used of how, you tend to speak in your brand voice for Black to Business, because I think that's what attracts people to it and makes it feel like a family. Even from the outside looking in, like looking at your page and your website, it's just like, oh, y'all look like a real family. So that's the essence that it gives off. So yeah, we have to be conscious of that. And I like when a brand is more familiar as opposed to more formal.
Love that. I'm going to write that one down. Familiar versus formal. Oh, yes. So I want to talk about some step-by-step processes that small businesses can use to create content that speaks to their desired audience. So would you say that you should have a plan in place or a written plan, or like how would you advise people having a process?
Yeah, so I think it's always good to have a plan, even a basic skeleton of an outline for how you're going to do anything. And that starts with like the objective and who something is for and what is that outcome that you want somebody to be able to achieve as a result of your content, right? So I don't necessarily think you have to worry about all the small details and getting your strategy perfect before you actually start creating content, but definitely start out with like at least a basic plan. And so what I like to recommend for people is to have a market research spreadsheet where as you're talking to more of your ideal customers or people you think that you want to include in your target market, start a spreadsheet with things that they're saying, questions that they have, common themes, their goals. You really want to know as much as you can as possible about your target audience. So I keep a spreadsheet and I love that bad boy. Like I pull it up whenever I'm talking to somebody like, ooh, this person said this. Sharon says she wants to achieve XYZ goal. And so I pop it into the spreadsheet. And then from there, I have like a content planner where I'm writing down ideas for topics, questions that I want to answer in my content, as well as when I'm planning content for my clients. So I'll have them make a market research spreadsheet too. So then from there, we take that and then we take just the ideas that they have in their head too, that might not necessarily have come from the research. But we combine those two things to help give us inspiration for the content that we may be planning out for the next 30 days, 90 days, the next year or so. And then we just write down topics. And a lot of my clients don't necessarily like to have like really strict content schedules because that's just not how they work. So, we adapt. But as long as they have the list of topics, the list of questions that their audience has been asking, and just a list of ideas and themes and stories that just came out of their own brain, as long as they have a list of topics, then when they sit down to actually create the content, they can just pull from that topic list, or they can just pull up their spreadsheet. And that also helps them not only create content, but helps them shape offers and services or products or courses that they feel like their audience is going to resonate with. And they can back that up with their spreadsheet, that information that they've been collecting over time.
I love that. And it sounds like you're not starting from scratch. Like, you have a base. And I think that that's what makes it also easier for people. And Kristen, I want to talk about something I forgot to mention in the beginning is that you're a copywriter. So talk about what a copywriter is and what do they do.
Yes. So kind of pointing back to the idea that we talked about earlier of a brand's voice. And copywriting is an extension, is a piece of a brand voice. So really it's about the written words that are used to express your brand, anywhere from your social media pages to your email marketing to your website. But the point of copywriting is to convey your message, right? It's to get your audience to understand your message and to then take action because of it. So we talked about some of those actions. They may be like sign up for something, purchase something, click a booking button. So it's really like, what words are you using? How are you expressing your brand in a way that gets people to take action? And sometimes it is overlooked. And then people might wonder, like, why is my social media not converting, or why am I not really seeing sales from social media? And a lot of the times, one of the reasons is because the copy isn't strong. They haven't come up with the strategy for how they describe their offers or how they talk about things in a way that is persuasive. And copywriting really aims to convey that message in a way that gets results.
Awesome. And what's the importance of having copywriting when it comes to protection of your?
Yeah, so that's like the legal side. Are you talking about the legal side of the copywriting?
Yes. So, well, how do you protect your words when you put them out there?
Yeah. Okay. So, and this is another distinction. I'm glad you brought that up. So when we think of copywriting, a lot of people ask me, like, is that the legal copywriting? And I have to make the distinction because I'm like, no, so it's not that. So I definitely want to put that out there because that's a common thing. So if anybody listening to this is confused, like copywriting lawyer or no. So copywriting on the legal side is when you protect your content and, you work with an attorney, right, to make sure things are protected. But copywriting on the marketing side is the actual writing. When you think of like emails or words that you write on your website or stuff like that. So there's definitely confusion, but they're spelled two different ways. And sometimes you just have to pick up on the context. But yeah, so I'm not a legal copywriter. If anyone's confused, I am the marketing copywriter. So I write.
Love it. We're going to keep that because, yes, it's teachable moments. And I think that is key, that there is a way that you protect those words that are out there, but there's also the importance of creating the content that aligns with your brand voice, and creating those sales funnels.
Exactly. So, and I'm actually not a specialist in the legal side. So I would recommend definitely have an attorney for your business because I don't know that part.
Period. And I think it's important to mention what copywriting is and what a copywriter does, because some people who are listening are looking to outsource those things. Yeah. So I want to talk about outsourcing content creation and copywriting versus what you have, using what you have to create the content yourself, the pros and the cons of.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to think about investing in a copywriter. If you feel like you're somebody who you are really good at what you do, you're really good at providing your service, but you don't know how to describe it in a way that gets new people's attention. Because I feel like a lot of times service providers and business owners, they have, family, friends, and immediate network. They have that support. But when it comes to expanding and getting in front of new audiences, then you have to do, a new level of marketing. It takes more marketing. It takes more effort. And sometimes you have to be a little bit more persuasive, a little bit more descriptive, and expand, your traffic sources. And one of the ways to do that is by having someone come in and think about the strategy. And that's where investing in a copywriter can come in, because it's like, what is that strategy? How are we going to get new people into your world? And a copywriter can come in with the structure. They can come in with, okay, this is how words should be presented. This is how your brand messaging should be presented. And this is the steps that people can take to first find out about you. And then, you can warm them up with this type of content. And then you can convert them into clients or customers with this type of content. So for people who are really good at what they do, but are lacking that strategy, sometimes they're just like, well, where am I missing the mark? And a lot of times it's literally just because they don't know the marketing side or the strategic side. And it's not because their service isn't good, their product isn't good. They just sometimes have to invest in somebody who can just take them to the next level. And copywriting is honestly one of the really valuable pieces of marketing that people don't realize, like how much of an impact it can have on the success of a business.
I so agree, because I'm in a lot of groups and, with different business owners. And that's one of the main things that people talk about is, especially when they're things that they're putting out are not converting into sales. And it's just like, okay, the impact of, I need a copywriter. I need someone to come in and get this message across all boards, my website, my social media, and my pitches.
Right.
So, yes.
And the order of which you present content to, like leading into your service, a copywriter typically knows not just how to write something, but also how to strategize and what order to put things out in.
Love it. So I want to talk about the importance of, having a digital strategy for your business. So when it comes to social media management and its importance when it comes to having a digital strategy, whether you want to sell something or you want to build trust first, why do you think that this is important for businesses to consider?
Yeah, so the building trust part is important. Like, you can't necessarily ask for sales before you have built trust. And even when you have built trust, it's like you also can't just roll out a new product and expect everybody to just buy it, or a service, for example, and expect everybody in your audience to just buy it if they have not been properly warmed up and primed. So the strategy side comes in when you think about how you want to break down the path for somebody to first find out about you, second, to follow you and have some interest in you, and then to actually buy something. And that has to be thought about from like a bird's eye level. And that's where the strategy comes in. So it's really just like, how do all of these pieces work? Like, how are we going to make all these pieces work in order to get somebody to that goal of becoming a client, and then not only a client, but a repeat client? How can we get our repeat clients to bring in more people and refer people? So when you're thinking about scaling up, you can't really leave things to chance. You can't really leave things like, oh, if I get lucky, I'll get this new customer, or I might get 5 customers tomorrow and maybe 10 next month. Like, who knows? But when you have that strategy, it gets more predictable and it gets more scalable. So if you want to create something that isn't just like a side hustle, for example, it's like a full-time sustainable business, you have a team, you need that strategy.
Yes, love it. Now, I'll say my next question is about, I was so excited when I saw that you like writing email funnels, because the emails get no love. And that's one of my favorite places to spend time in Black to Business, on our emails, on our email list. So I want to talk about why email versus social media, and the importance of people having and focusing on their email list. So can you talk about that?
Yeah. So for me, it's never like email versus social media. I think a healthy business is going to have both, because those are the two most effective channels to communicate with an audience. It's both email and social media. But when it comes to like conversion rates, a lot of times when you have that connection with your audience in email, you're going to see a higher conversion rate through your emails than through a social media engagement. So it's something that shouldn't be overlooked. The thing is, with email marketing, it can be a numbers game, and you have to consider like, okay, if I have 1,000 people on my list, maybe only 20% are going to open this, and maybe only 3% of those people are going to take action. So think about it from a number stance. You always want to have quality people on your list, and you always want to make sure that you are communicating something of value, and making your emails, desirable. You want people to actually open them. You want people to actually find value in them. But when you do have that, like your email list is one of your biggest assets as a business. It's one of your most important and valuable assets as a business, because a lot of people's conversions happen via email. And it really happens when you have like a combination of touch points with your audience. So that could be live video, that could be reels, that could be social media posts. But email is just one of those pieces, but it's one that shouldn't be overlooked because of how impactful it can be for somebody's business, and because of how effective it still is to this day.
Agreed. I agree. I so am a proponent of emails. And I love social media too. So I love that you said that, using them two together.
Yeah.
Using those two.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about now, one of the things that you do is helping to write email funnels that help people earn more money and income without the overwhelm. So I want to talk about how you do this. And I think it's important to discuss. We hear a lot about lead magnet and sales funnels. And if you could just talk about what are those and what businesses need to know about creating and launching them.
Yeah. So a sales funnel is really it's a structured set of actions that you have designed to bring somebody into your business. First is like, just a general audience member. And then the next step is for them to take like the first step with you. Maybe that's to buy their first product or become your client for maybe like a low price item, and then bring them into the full thing. And then you want them to become a repeat customer or client. So that's just a general idea of like a journey that somebody might take with your business. And a sales funnel is how you design that journey. It's that strategy. It's those intentional pieces that you put in place in your business so that somebody can take those actions. So for example, a sales funnel might look something like a business putting out a piece of blog content, and then they share their blog content on their Instagram. And then they might make an Instagram live video directing people to their email list. And then once people are in their email list, maybe they start receiving like a free lead magnet or a freebie. And that's really just a free resource or something that's valuable that gets people to sign up for your email list. And then from there, they might start receiving a series of emails that are designed to educate them about your service, designed to connect with them, share your story, and really bring them into your world so that they start building that trust with you. They start liking you. They start understanding who you are and how you can serve them. And then you make an offer for them to purchase or for them to become your client. And that step or those steps, that series is typically going to be automated. Like in a sales funnel, you really want to automate it, or you want to work to automate it so that you don't have to do all that manual work all the time. So I always say that a sales funnel should be implemented once you already have a proven business model, once you already have something that works. Because like if you're just trying to start from scratch and do an automated sales funnel, you probably won't see too many results. But a sales funnel is really going to work well. Like the right funnel is going to work well when you already have a proven like an audience or a business model, or you have testimonials and reviews, and you know that it works and you know who your audience is.
I love that. And also thinking about now the sales funnels, just for clarification, those are for, would you say that those are for people who are new to you, or if it's when you think about an upsell? So are you trying to get the people that are new to you or upsells?
It can be both. So your sales funnel it can have touch points for somebody that's completely new, but also part of your sales funnel can be an upsell, or it can be designed to bring a customer back, like bring a past client or customer back. So there's all different types of ways that you can implement a sales funnel. And really, I really think like if you're not super comfortable, like if you don't have a lot of knowledge or experience with sales funnels, I really think it's smart to like invest in a strategist, invest in a sales funnel designer, and somebody who's going to really tune in and listen to the needs of your business. Because a lot of times people just try to plop like any old sales funnel in any old business and it doesn't work. So I want to emphasize how important it is to create a funnel that works for your specific business, as opposed to just like trying to copy what somebody else did, because it's not going to work like that.
So, Kristen, you're a sales strategist, and I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm listening to this, and I have an audience. I'm making a couple sales. I'm doing okay. This sounds like a lot of work. Why do I need a sales funnel versus just asking for someone to pay me?
Yeah, so it is a lot of work. Like, I'm not going to lie about that. It's a lot of work. But when you think about, Okay, so typically I know a lot of people get into business because they want freedom, they want flexibility, they want to express themselves, and they want to build a lifestyle around that. But then when we get into business, we're not free. We're like, we have all these demands. Our customers and clients are now our bosses almost. And it can be very overwhelming and it can be unsustainable for a lot of us. So the idea of a sales funnel and even investing in professionals and strategists, that helps you bring back that freedom and flexibility in your life because you're putting systems in place to make things more predictable and to make things more scalable in your business. So a sales funnel will help you bring in new clients, bring in new customers on a repeatable, reliable basis. It's a system that once you test it out and once you experiment and once you figure out what works, it can continue working. You can continue building on it. You can continue scaling it. And it's going to be guaranteed almost to bring you business. Like once you have a solid system in place and the service that you provide is actually like, it's a great service. You actually get results here. Once you combine that with the system, which is a sales funnel, your growth potential is really, it's honestly unlimited because you have that system in place. You know how things work. You know how to bring, if you need 5 new clients, you just turn your sales funnel on and you can get 5 new clients. And then you can deliver that service. And then you have it in such a way that you get that freedom back because a sales funnel helps you not have to hustle around the clock. It helps you not have to wonder like where your next client is coming from and how you're going to get the new one after that. But a sales funnel is really designed so that somebody can have more freedom and flexibility to grow their business. And if they just want to chill out, like if you want to take off for a month or so, but you don't have a system in place to make sure you can, keep the income coming, then, why are you doing this? Why are you doing entrepreneurship if you can't have that freedom and flexibility that you're looking to have one day?
Love that. And it's also, like you said, it's a lot of work, but I think, like you explained, it's worth it because of all the benefits of, having the freedom.
Yeah. And so like the business owners that I follow, that I've learned from and coaches that I've invested in, they have all set up funnels that work for them. So now if they only want to work for a few hours a week, they do that and they let their systems and their funnels work for them. That's where I'm trying to get to in my business. And that's where I help clients get to, because you definitely have to put in the work in the beginning. For the first few years, you're really going to be hustling it out a lot of the times. But it's like that end goal that you have in mind. Like, I want to be able to step back. I want to be able to take some time off or just work 2 hours tomorrow if I want to, or maybe I just take tomorrow off. And the business owners who are doing that have done the work up front. They've put the systems in place. They've tested out what works. And now they're just kind of scaling up.
Yes. And one of the things you mentioned earlier is lead magnets. So I do believe that they are important, but do you believe that these are important for all businesses, or what types of businesses do you feel that either it's a lead magnet or something free, pro bono?
Yeah, so I think that they are important for any business who wants to value emails, and not even just emails, but sometimes phone numbers. I don't necessarily think that every single business owner needs a lead magnet to be successful, but it is one of those proven things that just works, and it works across different industries. So for example, a lead magnet can be anything from like a template or a checklist all the way to something more involved, like a webinar, like an hour-long webinar or masterclass that might be free for somebody to sign up for, or like a 3-part workshop, for example. And so they're important for people who want to operate in a space of like utilizing their email list to get more sales. And in order to get more sales from your email list, you need to attract more people to your email list. And that lead magnet, it does what it says it does. It should magnetize people and magnetize new leads so that you have a bigger pool of people in your email list to share your content with, to share your offers with. So I do think they're important. And I think that like if I were to sit down with any business owner, I could think of a lead magnet that would probably work for their business.
That's awesome. Yes. And so I'm sure because you work with clients and just your experience, what do you think that when it comes to creating content that connects and converts, what do you think that most people miss the mark?
Yeah, so I think most people, again, kind of going back to that first part of market research, I think sometimes that's where people miss the mark. And even I've had experience with that where I put out something, like I put out a lead magnet and it didn't really resonate with my specific audience. And that's because I didn't really do any research. I didn't sit down and talk to the people who I was attempting to start a business for. So I didn't know exactly what they needed, or even if I knew that they could find value in what I was offering as a lead magnet, I had to position it differently. I had to word it differently. It was, so even those small tweaks like positioning something differently, wording something differently, switching it up a little bit, like those nuances can really only be uncovered and discovered through your conversations with your specific market. So that's the big thing. It's just like, make sure that this is something your audience actually needs, and then make sure that it's something that is going to entice them to want more your specific service. So it's those like connection points, like make sure it's connected to what your audience needs, and make sure it's something that your audience will want to dive deeper with, and that's the actual service that you provide.
Love it. And so this has been so valuable, and I'm sitting here taking notes, and I'm thinking, so if I was a business owner wanting to work with you, how could you help me?
Yeah, so I love to work with specifically service providers. And some of the services that I offer are website copywriting. So if people want like a whole revamp website, I help them sit down and strategize how they should structure their website and write it so that they're persuading more people to take action. And then I also do email sequences. So I love to write welcome sequences and sales sequences. And really those are automated emails that we can set up to be delivered like automatically over a series of days or weeks. And so I help to copyright like that structure of welcoming somebody to a business, and then the owner behind the business and what they offer, and just like getting them acclimated to everything that the brand has, from popular posts, blog posts, to popular videos that they might have made. And then we roll out an offer, but it's in a really strategic way. So I like helping people learn how to put their sales on autopilot through their website or through their emails or through their like social media copy. And then on the other side, I also offer consulting. Like if people need help with just overall systems in their website, like what can I automate? What can I delegate? And how do I strategically put these things in place so that I can grow? Because a lot of business owners, I find, feel like they've plateaued at a certain level. So the next step is to put more systems and processes in place so they can start growing.
Amazing. So I want to talk about some of your favorite resources and tools that you've used and that have helped you in your entrepreneurial journey.
Yes. Okay. So I had been really big on just like reading blogs. Like that's how I started, was reading blogs, listening to podcasts, and tuning into specific business owners who were living like the type of lifestyle that I'd always admired. And one of those coaches that I have not became a client with, but I've just consumed all her stuff. Her name is Ari. And she has a program called Allergic to Hourly. And so this is a program specifically for consultants, coaches, and service providers and freelancers like myself. I follow her on Twitter, and a lot of the people in her program They rave about it. And even me, like I've been impacted just from her content, her free content alone. So that's a program that I have on my list to probably invest in. But I would always recommend her content like 10 times over. She has a free webinar. She offers, she has YouTube videos. She has all types of resources, even for free, that are amazing. And what else? A book that I read that I think is really big for the mindset piece is called Psycho-Cybernetics. And that book was like, it was a game changer for me because it helped me get in the mindset of believing in myself, believing in the divinity of myself as just a human being and like all of the potential that I have. So sometimes like when I feel doubt or when I feel like, who am I to even put myself out there? Like I go back to some of the things that I learned in that book that are just about not being afraid to make mistakes, not being afraid to hold myself back and not express myself. So that was a really big one for me for the mindset part.
I haven't heard of that, so I definitely will put that in the show notes. And I want to go back to what you just did for Ari. Is you mentioned all of the free value that she's giving you. Mm-hmm. And I think that for people who are listening, who are putting in this work and this time into creating content, and like you just said, you might didn't buy in the beginning, but you're going to buy it. Or someone who's listening, right, just hearing you speak, it's like, I don't want to check her out. I don't want to buy. So that's converting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to someone in their first year?
To keep going, keep experimenting, and talk to your audience. Talk to who you think your audience might be. And for me, like I have experimented with a lot of different offers, a lot of different specific types of clients. And really, like I haven't really truly found my niche until this year. I mean, even a couple years ago, like I knew who I wanted to serve and I knew what services I wanted to offer, but it didn't start to really click until a couple years later. You know, now in 2021 and not back in 2018 or 2019, like when I started this new venture, it didn't click back then. So you just have to keep going. You have to not be afraid to experiment. You're not going to get it 100% right the first time. You're not going to have everything perfect as soon as you start. Like your website doesn't have to be perfect when you launch it. Your logo doesn't have to be perfect. Your social media graphics don't have to be perfect. But I think the important part is just making sure that whatever you offer is quality. Make sure your client's experience is quality. And if you focus on that, the other things will come. You know, they'll come more naturally, but just focus on the level of quality of service that you're offering and you'll stand out because nowadays, like everybody's offering everything and not everything is good. So honestly, the way that you can stand out is just to be great at what you do. The branding and that stuff, like that will come, but don't stress out over that. Don't stress out over the little details because you don't need that the very first year in your business.
Amazing word and amazing advice. And I want to ask, what's the best risk that you've taken in your business?
The best risk? I'll say when I decided to move to Thailand and freelance, like that was a huge risk. I didn't know anything that I was doing at all. And I wasn't successful at first, but it was a huge, it was just like one of those moments in my life that I feel like changed everything because when I lived abroad, I saw how so many different people were living. Like I saw that there was tons of people who were making money, who were impacting people and just having the freedom to do what they want. Like if they wanted to come live in Thailand for a month, they would do it. And that opened my mind so much because I was like, oh my God, like I came from the government where people just worked for 30, 40 years and that's it. And they might take a week-long vacation. But like when I went and saw that there were people, like I met somebody who was like a 6-figure host, like he hosted weddings, but he also coached people on how to host weddings. And he did like online virtual classes, and he was making bank, and he was just living life. And I was just like, okay, that's so cool. So there's just like so many lanes out there. There's so many lanes. And I don't think I would have met so many amazing, cool people who were doing like all types of things if I didn't just say, hey, I'm going to move to the other side of the world and I'm going to offer these services and figure it out. So that really, like, without that experience, I don't know if I would still be going to this day, because it's hard. It's hard. But like, that really gave me so much inspiration.
Wow. Yes, I could see. And it's when you're in those spaces with people. And I think that, like you mentioned, like just following people, even if it's on social media that you don't have access to, it's inspiring.
Yeah, definitely.
Love it. And my last question is, what does it mean for you to be Black in business?
Yeah, so for me, being Black in business means that it automatically means I'm a trailblazer, because I think, Black people have had businesses for generations now, but we're in a generation where it's like we have so many resources, we have so much access to information, but we're still very restricted by, systematic inequality. So for me, being Black in business is we're being a trailblazer. I'm being a shapeshifter. I am paving the way for what I hope is future generations and my children, and starting to create a path of like, we don't have to follow the rules of society. We don't have to just work for these jobs and these 40-hour work weeks forever. Like, we can create our own lifestyles. And I think we're creating our own worlds. We're really making a real difference. And we're doing it in a way that, like, we just have to figure it out on our own, because we don't have these blueprints. We don't have the same access, and we don't have, the same resources monetarily either. So we're building from the ground up, and I love it. It's challenging, but it's also very humbling to know that, like, oh my gosh, we're just kind of doing this. Like, we're winging it, but it's cool. So yeah, it's fun. It's amazing.
I love that. It's such a beautiful message. And I love asking that question, because it's just, I can feel the energy of, how people feel. And I just definitely felt what you were saying. So yes. But like, Kristen,
our grandparents, when you think about it, like, would your grandparents really believe like what you were doing right now and just like the impact you've made? They'd just be like, oh my gosh, like,
right. Right. And it's just because of them we've been able to do and, seeing their hard work. So I think that that's also, like you said, is motivating. And we're doing that for people to come behind us. So I agree.
Yes. Amen to that.
Yes. And this has been so good. I'm pretty sure people are wondering, how can they connect with you? How can they support you? So if you could just give your information, how can they support you?
Thank you. Yes. So I am on Instagram at Kristen Noelle, KristenNoelle. And that's my name on Instagram, but my @ is Get Krist. I just remembered Get Krist, GetKrissed. And my website is KristenNoelle.com. So I welcome anybody to like reach out, message me if you have any questions about copywriting or system strategy and whatnot. Like, I'm always happy to answer a quick question. I also offer like audits, website audits, and social media caption and email sequence audits. So if you're looking for somebody to just provide feedback on what you already have, you can feel free to reach out to me for that as well.
Amazing. Well, Kristen, thank you so much for being on the show, and we really appreciate you taking the time. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Monique. I so appreciate you having me, and I'm looking forward to continuing to listen to all these good episodes.
Yes, thank you so much. And for everyone who is listening, until next time.
Bye.
That was so good. And I'm so glad that Kristen shared the impact of skipping out on doing market research when creating content. And she also kept it real about how it's a lot of work, However, I think that spending the time now will save you a ton of headaches and money in the future. So a few things to take away from this conversation are: 1, identify and get clear on your brand voice so that you can create copy that sounds like your brand and resonates with your audience. 2, talk to your audience and don't assume you know what they need. 3, create a plan that includes your objective and who it's for, and also what it is that you want to achieve. Listen, you don't know what you don't know, but now that you know, put it into action. This was so awesome, and thank you so much for listening. And as always, you can find out more information about the resources mentioned during this episode at blacktobusiness.com/69. Please follow and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts. You can do this if you have an iPhone or any Apple device that has the podcast app. We truly appreciate it. See you next week.